It's actually kind of interesting where Star Wars is right now. For a long time, the franchise has been trying a lot of different things, different characters, different eras, different stories. Some of it has worked really well, and some of it hasn't landed quite the way fans hoped. But through all of that, there's one story that people just keep coming back to. That's the story of the Mandalorian and Grogu. And honestly, when you think about it, that's kind of surprising. When The Mandalorian first came out, nobody really knew what to expect. It wasn't focused on Jedi, it wasn't focused on the Skywalkers, and it wasn't even really about saving the galaxy. It was just about this lone bounty hunter traveling the Outer Rim, taking jobs, surviving day to day. It felt smaller, almost like a Western set in the Star Wars universe. But then Grogu shows up, and suddenly the whole story changes. Because now this guy who was basically built to live alone suddenly has responsibility for one of the most important beings in the galaxy. And he doesn't even fully understand what Grogu is at first. All he knows is that this little creature is being hunted by some very dangerous people. And for whatever reason, he just decides he's not going to let that happen. And that's really where the heart of the story comes from. It's not just about blasters or bounty hunting anymore. It becomes about this relationship between two characters who honestly shouldn't have crossed paths at all. One of them is a hardened warrior raised in a strict Mandalorian culture, and the other is basically a mysterious force sensitive child who can barely even speak yet. But somehow the two of them end up forming one of the strongest bonds we've seen in Star Wars in a long time. And I think that's a big part of why fans connected with it so much. Star Wars has always been at its best when the story is really about relationships. Whether it's master and apprentice, father and son, or friends fighting side by side. That emotional connection is what makes everything else matter. So now Lucasfilm is making a pretty big move by turning this story into a full movie. Instead of just continuing the show, they're bringing these characters onto the big screen with the Mandalorian and Grogu. And that's actually a huge signal about how important these characters have become to the franchise. Because if you really think about it, this movie could end up shaping the direction of Star Wars for years. The timeline that this story exists in is actually one of the most interesting parts of the entire galaxy. The Empire has fallen, but the New Republic doesn't fully have control yet. The galaxy is kind of in this chaotic middle period where Imperial remnants are still out there. Warlords are trying to build power, and nobody really knows what the future looks like. And that kind of environment is perfect for a character like the Mandalorian. He's not a Jedi, he's not a politician, he's not trying to lead a rebellion or rule the galaxy. He's just navigating a dangerous universe while protecting someone who happens to be an incredibly powerful in the Force. So the big question is, what kind of story this movie is actually going to tell? Does it stay smaller and personal like the show? Or does it start pulling these characters into a much bigger galactic conflict? Because there are definitely hints that something larger could be building in the background of this era. But personally, I kinda hope they keep the same core feeling that made this show work in the first place, especially the first two seasons. A dangerous galaxy, strange new worlds, bounty hunters, criminals, and warlords all trying to survive in the chaos after the Empire. And right in the middle of it is a Mandalorian who will do absolutely anything to protect Grogu. Because at the end of the day, that's really what the story is all about. Not the politics, not the battles, just a warrior and the kid he refuses to give up. And honestly, that might be exactly what Star Wars needs right now.